You're listening to the PooCast podcast with your hosts, Watts, Brown and Pickering.
We're going to get into our next story here about storing food and making it last longer. Now, Jocelyn, a very quick question here, putting you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
How do you store your food? Do you just leave it out when you come back shopping? What do you do with it?
Oh, mostly go straight in the refrigerator or the pantry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know the difference between a best before and a use by date?
I've been reading the script.
We can do scripts, it's just ad lib. Anyway, listen, we asked the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation's CSIRO, the Consumer Food Safety spokesperson Rozita Vaskoska, to weigh in. Now, we didn't ask her, but this is part of an ABC News story. And apparently she says the use-by dates are very firm, but it should be followed and the product shouldn't be used after that date. But the best before date has some wiggle room, which I thought was an interesting thing. So, I've gone in there and Kaye said, don't get anything that's, past its use by date or this, that and the other. But in fact, that's not a big problem.
Actually,
depending on the food.
Yeah, I'm pleased to have that clarified because I didn't really know the difference until I came here. Me and my friends, we generally just say that's a general guide.
Yeah. Well, she says that here. It says that it doesn't reflect the quality will drop after that date. It doesn't mean it will be unsafe to use, but, there's a bit of a balance there.
I think some people have a cast iron stomach. Brian, I'm looking at you. Jocelyn, I'm looking at you. Some of us are a bit more fragile if it's a little bit close to things. But I actually checked out the foodstandards.gov.au site, and they say date marks are provided by the manufacturers so that, they have to be responsible, so they have to give you an idea what is the use-by date when food needs to be eaten so that you cannot eat it after that date. So if it says use-by, because U is at the end of the alphabet, that means eat it by then or die. Well, not die, but get very sick.
Yeah.
However, most foods have a best before date, which means that it's at its premium quality. And if you eat it after that, you're not going to get, unwell, but it might be not so good for you. Like a few things in my freezer probably have frostburn. Sorry.
Only a few.
Only a few. It's a very small freezer nowadays. I used to have mountains of freezer space when I lived in Sydney. But now we move things around a bit quicker. And I guess one of the big things that people need to think about is, working out the use by and the best by dates are only a guideline. If they put their own little sticker on with the date they got it, it might give them some better ideas. I do that because you know how you open a jar of something, it says, use within 7 days, right? Straight in the fridge in the door, and it's like, damn, when did I open that? Is it still okay? So I think those little stickers you get from Officeworks are very handy.
Yeah, look, being a bloke, I don't do all the food and shopping and storing and all the rest of it. Well, I'm trying. You're learning me, aren't you? Eh? But I am learning, in fact, and how long things should stay out and where they should be stored and how they should be stored. Even simple things like bananas. Kaye gets green bananas because they're healthier for me personally. And I've learnt now you take them apart and then you put a little bit of alfoil on the ends and they will last longer.
Supposedly.
Not the rate I eat them, but that's another story.
Well, Queensland is also very tricky, I think, because it's so warm here.
Yeah.
What's your experience with bananas, Jocelyn?
Well, I didn't know that little trick to putting the alfoil on the end, but it's a good point. Generally, I like them sort of middle of the range. Once they get overripe, I'm a bit yucky on those sorts of things. But if you put them in a cake, that's okay.
I didn't bring the bananas around with the cake. We were talking about that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but look, there's so many ways of storing things, and we'll put some stuff up on the website. But basically, it's a balance between how old something is and its use by date and how you've stored it. And they're saying plastic is the enemy, for instance. Don't put a lot of the foods just into a plastic bag and stick it in the fridge or the freezer because the plastic leaches out all sorts of crap.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I've actually heard, and I actually do practice that, is to put a paper towel at the bottom of your vegetable tray, and that absorbs some of the extra moisture, and that does tend to make it last longer.
So it's kind of cool. I was just going to say the latest click-safe, microwave-safe, freezer-safe containers usually don't have biphenyl, and I'm not pronouncing it correctly, BSH plasticides in it, which can leach into foods. So I guess there's been a big push to use glass containers to put things in, not just mason jars, which are very pretty, but for those people who are living in smaller places with smaller fridges or traveling, glass containers are too heavy. So you do need to look out the really good ones that have the certification stamp on the bottom of the container to say it is safe to use.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line of all this this particular story is the fact that apparently we Aussies are each throwing out about 312 kilos of food every year at a cost of around $2,000 to $2,500 per household, or around 1 in 5 bags of groceries throwing out on a regular basis. I mean, that's crazy.
That's a lot of waste.
A lot of waste, and, we're just throwing too much in the bin, basically.
And there's traffic miles involved with that. You've had to get a product. The product has been grown. It's been transported. You go to somewhere to buy it, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I think we're all becoming just a little bit more conscious of where we're getting our food, how we plan to use it, and I'm trying desperately to do food prepping. So if anyone listening has some really cool ideas on food prepping, I'd love to hear them, because I've looked at lots of sites and they go, oh, I guess chop it all up on a Sunday. Who buys their fresh food on a Sunday? The food markets are on a Saturday or another day.
Well, the bottom line with these 5 points regarding food and food waste is conscious purchasing. So that's the main point. So we'll put those 5 points up there. They actually make a lot of sense, even to me, which is fantastic.